The member for Nepean Carleton.
Thank you very much, Speaker. It's my pleasure to rise to debate today, and I want to congratulate the new member from Kingston and the Islands for bringing this issue forward. I know as your first private member's business, you put a lot of thought into what you want to bring to the floor of the Assembly, and it often sets the tone for your legislative career. So you must be very passionate about this issue, and I want to congratulate you for bringing it here today. There are a number of concerns that many Canadians share on behalf of the Aboriginal community, particularly when we take our places here in the Assembly. And I want to welcome them here today for their fight for this recognition, and I applaud them for their determination. I think that's the best part about being a Canadian, is that we can take issues that matter to us and bring them to a floor of the Assembly or to a federal House of Parliament. So I welcome you here today to do that. My understanding, Speaker, is that we've had close to 40 reports, if not 40 reports, on this issue, which speaks to how important it is to Canadians, to federal parliamentarians, and to the people of this province, particularly our Aboriginal community. I understand as well there are close to 500 recommendations, which I think ought to start being implemented. Because this is a crisis in our country. It is something that requires action, and I join my voice with all of those members here to demand that action be taken. I have a couple of minutes to speak to this issue, but I wanted to raise another issue that I think should be debated on the floor of the Assembly, and it's something I've worked on in my own community, but I think is at a crisis level here in the province of Ontario. And while I have the opportunity, I want to talk about Aboriginal youth suicide. Speaker is very much aware of the tragedy that occurred in my community with a young man who I think highlighted for all of us the need for us to start talking about suicide prevention for all Canadians, but in particular, I notice in the province of Ontario and perhaps in the rest of Canada as well, Aboriginal suicide is quite large, and I was startled to read some statistics from the Children's Advocate. Between 1986 and 2011, there were 341 suicides involving children and youth adults between the age of 10 and 30 in the Sioux Lookout First Nations region of Northern Ontario. During the time we were working in the City of Ottawa on trying to create a suicide prevention plan, we looked to the north because they were dealing with an epidemic far greater than what we were experiencing in Southern Ontario, and I think that is critical. I really would respect the member opposite, who happens to be the women's issues critic, to allow me my time to speak about an issue and a crisis that I find is very important to me. And I think I speak to the folks at home who are very concerned about the suicides that are taking place in Canada's north, particularly among the young children. It's further believed that for every suicide amongst that age range, there are 8 other attempted suicides. This is a crisis level, Speaker. We have seen it in communities across the province, but it is worse in these communities. For example, the Aboriginal community of Pickingickum has been referenced as potentially having the highest suicide rate worldwide. That's significant because that is in our province. We should be able to do something about it, and we have talked about this issue in the province before, but we can do, in my opinion, better. So again, I speak directly to the member from Kingston and the Islands as I congratulate her for bringing forward this bill. I support it, and I encourage her to continue her efforts. Thank you.